Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm amidst technologically savvy people. I do use technology, but not to the extent that these people do. I've been asked to speak on different kind of disabilities, their impact, and some aspects about legislation. Having served in India and also having practiced in UK for about 12 years, I think I can combine something good about the two, East and the West. And let me see if I can share with you some of my thoughts. There was a time when we said that the prevalence of disability in the West vis-a-vis prevalence of disability in developing country like India is the same. Because in the West, people lived longer, that added to the disability, and also people survived because of good health care. So therefore, the chances of person born with some kind of defects had a chance to survive. In a developing country like India, the situation was little different. That people born with disabilities or impairments because of poor health conditions died at a younger age, and overall longevity was also little lower as compared to the West. In my about 40 years of practice, I'm seeing definite change. There are two aspects which I would like to highlight. With better socio-economic conditions and with better health conditions, infants and children born with low birth weight have greater survival. And also the age at which people die is now longer. In this demographic transition, I believe the prevalence of disability is likely to increase in India. Don't believe the government-controlled or government surveys which have been done. They report so low prevalence of disability that basically because they have taken a very low threshold, or anybody with very gross magnitude of disability is counted and many other people are missed. And we know very well that all over the world we are diagnosing autism much more than ever we did before. One, our tools are better, our awareness is better, and we are able to detect such conditions at an earlier age because of the awareness and better tools. I remember this transition myself. In 1980s, I had missed some cases, and I don't forgive myself for that. And I know in the year 2010, our understanding is very different. On top of that, look at the demographic transition in India. From rural, people are getting attracted to the metropolis because that is where employment is. So we are likely to have a lot of people migrating to the urban areas. Can we cope with it? What kind of services can be provided for them? Is there any master plan? I believe we have to seriously think on these. I wouldn't be able to offer a straightforward solution to you, but I can share with you some of the things that we did at NIMH, Hyderabad, which were very, very helpful. I'm a great fan of family support systems, and we had worked at a wide variety of family support systems. Now, most parents in the family become protective of a child born with disability. This is necessary, but at the same time, some people overprotect. As a result, a child is not exposed to the regular, normal world. And I think one has to look into the parenting aspects. It is necessary to carry out parent training programs. And then also, a kind of mismatch sometime. Either we overestimate capabilities of an individual with disability, or we sometimes underestimate. I think in both instances, we are misreading the situation. It is appropriate that we have realistic appraisal. Then, if something goes wrong, or if there is a problematic behavior, I'm referring to attribution theory, parental attitudes or the attitudes of the caregiver. If they think it is because of the illness, they are sympathetic. If they think the person is intentionally doing it, they become angry at the individual and they handle their emotions differently. What we have found in our research, that to cope with a child in the family, religiosity is a good mediating factor. People who are religious, I'm not talking about the kind of religion of going to the temple and praying. I'm talking about religiosity, or you can call it spirituality. Those who are spirituality oriented, they cope with the condition much better as compared to those who do not believe in spirituality or in religiosity. We also found that parents who tend to hide the fact about disability, in fact, tend to weep alone, and parents who tend to glamorize disability in the child or share it openly, they tend to cope better. We have held regularly parent training programs, and we conducted also help parents to organize kind of parent self-help groups or parent support groups. I want to give one example of such kind of parent support group, and I will take a leaf out of that and see as to what we can do. Rita, my wife, and another colleague, way back in 1984, they started working with a group of parents in Hyderabad. And in order that the parents, they devoted their every Sunday to the cause, invited parents, talk to them, and get them organized. The parents were initially reluctant. They took the parents on a picnic. And they made a rule that while they are out, you will not look after your child, but you look after another person's child. And that was the starting point. They gelled together. They formed Rotary Midtown, and they were about 10 to 12 people. What they did was, on every weekend, their child would stay with family A, and the child of family A would live with family B, and the child of family B would live with family C. The idea was that the parents of another family learn how to cope with child A and child B and child C, and this was rotated. One of the ways I can think of encouraging families to have respite care centers is, I have tried to do some quick calculation. If we, let us say, have a small unit of 3 bedroom or 4 bedrooms, that could rental value of about 30,000, 40,000, 50,000, depending upon the locality, and also the transportation costs, the food costs. The staff salary comes to about 1 lakh. I think average it comes to about 2 lakhs per month. Divided it by 30 days in a month, and about 7 to 8 people who will utilize the facilities. This is something from the West I'm quoting. The studies show that when parents have an opportunity to send their own child for respite, you can buy respite 30 days in a month, 30 days in a year, or 10 days in a year, and so on. Average cost comes to an Indian rupees about 1,000 rupees per day or per night. In that case, and if you buy 30 nights, it comes 30,000 rupees in a year, which some families may be able to afford. Some families, those who cannot afford, perhaps some kind of support system can be generated. This way, parents can meet the emergencies within the families. If they have access to such kind of respite centers, I'm talking about urban solutions, I'm talking about metropolitan solutions, and it is possible to create such kind of respite care centers. Let me give you an example from Calcutta. A group of parents, Bodhayan is the name of the organization, they have established a daycare center which is run by parents on rotation. They have total membership about 300 people or 300 families, and about 30-40 people converge at that place so that the parents can come home late. These people go in the morning, they're all adults, some of them commute on their own and reach the day center. I think day center is a very good concept that can relieve the pressure from the families, from the parents. Particularly in our culture, what happens is that in many families, not all families, mothers, they tend to carry the blame. They think because they have given birth, as if they are responsible for the child, the disability in the child. I think this is unfair, but these are the belief systems. And these mothers, devote all their lifetime. Once a child is born in the family, your lifelong linkage with this child is formed. And I think you have a lifelong relationship. In order to support such parents to get some kind of a respite, and particularly mothers, so that they can go for work, for them, respite care as well as day center, a kind of a day center after the school hours, that can meet the needs of the families till about 7 p.m. You pick up your child or a son or a daughter or an adult at a time that is convenient to you. I think these are the kind of solutions that we'll have to come up with. I am also great supporter of leisure and recreational activities. We think it is secondary, but it may not be. It is established fact when children, they are crying in the home, take them out, they stop crying. Maybe it's a change of the temperature or change of the weather, or outside the stimulation is little different or much more as compared to what is in the home. And I have dealt with a large number of people having autism or intellectual disability, having a lot of behavioral issues and behavioral concerns and behavior problems. Whenever they go on a holiday, not a single episode is reported. It's a fact. Well, I'm a clinical psychologist who practices in UK. I can't share with you belief system. I'm talking evidence-based. We practice evidence-based psychology, and therefore whatever I'm saying, I'm speaking from the studies. And this is a fact. So I think we should optimize leisure and recreation. Remember, whenever there is a season for Special Olympics, when the schools start gearing up towards preparation for Special Olympics, the problems disappear. The involvement of children is very different. All right, when you have let's say, group coming for a choir, or there is some kind of a group song, or any kind of a group event that they have to perform, look at the transformation in the eyes of the individual with intellectual disability, autism. They behave differently. Or for example, they put on the makeup. Look at the change in the behavior when they put on a makeup and they have to stand in front of the audience. They behave very differently. They behave very decent. I think these are some of the good inclusive practices. I'm talking about, you're talking about inclusion. I think they're good practices. Another aspect that I would like to emphasize is employment. I've seen with my own eyes people who get employment. I remember in Hyderabad way back in early 90s when we started the vocational training center, and open competitive individual employment was taken up. Open competitive employment. People got transformed. I know of some of the projects that have run in Bangalore city itself. Feroz and the group, there's a person named DJK Cornelius who started utility and facility in Bangalore itself. He took up contracts from various factories, and the quality control was done best by people with disability. And I have read your article too. It's beautiful. I think you've got to match the ability of an individual with a job, and the moment we have done this, we can achieve success. Last but not the least, on this subject, I want to talk about the terminology. I don't like the word mental handicap, nor I do like mentally challenged. The moment you bring mental, they are thought as if they are weird, they are odd. Can't we come up with a Hindi word which is appropriate to describe intellectual disability? It's understandable if we are having a scientific session and a discourse to talk about intellectual disability, but when we address people, I think it is very derogatory to call somebody retarded or mentally or mental or whatever the term that we use. I don't like the word mental. I've thrown a challenge. I've thrown a challenge to Parivar, which is a national federation of parent organizations, to come up with what people with intellectual disability, I'm using this word, I know, I'm talking to describe, we need a descriptive term. Now, if we translate into, let's say, differently abled is very appealing, but when you say Vibhinna Vyakti, ya Bhinna Gan, Bhinna Jan or something, maybe whatever the term is used, I know any term that you decide now, within 5 years, it will become pejorative, and you might have to change it every 5 years. But I think it is appropriate to come with a Hindi word. Similarly, for autism, I don't like the word autism. And Hindi equivalent is swalinata. Swalinata means a person is absorbed in self. That doesn't describe all aspects of autism, but doesn't matter. It's a Hindi word. We can use it to describe understanding. As swalin vyakti, swalin jan or something. I would very much request if we can all put our minds together and come up with a good word. I just thought of some word. Buddhi is intellect. I always would like to glamorize disability rather than a kind of put it in negative connotations. Now, for example, there was a person who was a person with Down syndrome. He was always say, "I'm up sing, not down sing. I'm up sing." So, so we should, I think, a little bit of glamorization is good. It is useful. Now, coming to the disability bill, etc., I have gone through the bill. Even after Taj Mahal is built, you start finding faults. You can find faults. I have read it. I do not want to sound negative. Therefore, I'm not going to comment on any of the clauses of the bill. I was one of the expert members when mental health bill, way back in 1981-82, I was one of the experts attached to the parliamentary group. At that time I was with the Indian Council of Medical Research. Then later on I played a little more active role when National Disability Act came up, the National Trust Act came up, Persons with Disability Act came up. It's a long process. The group of people who have envisaged the bill, they are my colleagues and my friends. I worked closely with them. I was a member secretary of the amendment committee that proposed amendments to the Persons with Disability Act. But then I think more than 12 years have gone by. They came up with, because of UN Declaration on the Rights of People with Disability. So therefore, they wanted to synchronize our Persons with Disability Act with the clauses of the rights of people with disability. I think in order to have one bill for all different kind of disabilities, what binds us together is non-discrimination. So long as the clauses on rights, clauses on non-discrimination are concerned, I think one should go whole hog. I do not like to talk further about the bill because I think it is a non-starter. This current government doesn't have much of time, because other important bills are pending. And it's only the new government that comes up in 2014 or 2013, I don't know when. Then the new government will constitute a new committee, new drafting committee, or maybe they will take most of the clauses from the same bill. But I have one thing to suggest. One, we are unnecessarily geared towards a central bill. Take the same draft, give it to the councillors and ask the municipal corporation, local municipal corporation, this is the policy that we want. It's easy to work rather than the top-bottom approach. It is better to have bottom-to-top approach. It is easy to work with councillors. In municipal corporation, it is possible. The thought came only yesterday. I was at Bombay. It's the largest resource center for people with disability that I have ever seen in India. They cater to all people with disability going to the schools in Navi Mumbai, which comes to about 2 to 3 lakhs. And on rotation, they come to the resource center. They are not concentrating on special schools, they believe in inclusive education. So therefore, children are pulled out from the regular schools. If they need special coaching or specific some kind of time with therapists or with educators, and they go back to the regular school. I think this is a wonderful, this is all we wanted, and it has become possible. Bombay is always leading us. And I'm saying Bombay, they'll kill me. It's Mumbai, sorry. Then working with state governments is much better than working with the central government, which is, I think, a long drawn process. It takes 10 to 15 years to pass any bill at the central level. My next suggestion, what do you think is the total prevalence of disability? How many people in 100 are people with disability in India? Any good guess? 10% is huge. 10% is obviously when we include the upper age, people in the 80s and 90s because they have difficulty walking. And a person like Rukmini Krishnaswamy has legitimately reached the disability sector. Yeah, because when you include all those people, in fact, it becomes, it's truly, I mean, when you can't walk and you're wobbly and you can fall, well, and you can't see, your cataract particularly, and that means it's all inclusive. Now, what do you think is the average size of the family? 4? Okay, if we say conservative estimate of 5% prevalence of disability, multiply by 5, or let's say 4. 5 by 4, 20%. 20% of the population is directly affected with disability. Can't you swing the votes? 20% of the population is a huge population. Swing the votes. Invite the politician. We'll give you a vote if you promise that you will pass the disability bill. Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye-bye.